So today we'll be having, is it Joe? John?
Joe, you got it right.
Okay, Josh Joe from Soul Microgrid today. If you want to introduce yourself and give us an idea of what your company is.
Yeah, absolutely. So with Soul Microgrid is it's an energy sustainability company, and it goes. I can explain some of this with some of the slides that we do have. But we're based out of Georgia, but focused heavily in the state of California. And as everybody knows, a lot of companies are focused on the state of California because of the fact that just the cost of utility companies, for the most part, is insane. Now, you guys in Modesto have it significantly better than other cities that are located in PG&E territory. So, and I think when we first spoke, Jolene, I don't know how that affects some of the sustainability goals that as a city you guys have, how much that is into play as far as maybe why some of the reasons it could be a little bit slower in cities like Modesto, but I think that's part of the factor of it. But there's a 1-minute video that I'm going to show. I'm just waiting to see if I know the Zoom link was a little tricky hopping on, so I have one more person hopping on. But I'm just going to show a 1-minute video of what a microgrid is, and it's a real-time installation that we did for the Chick-fil-A that's in Stockton. So I don't know if any of you guys have been in that Chick-fil-A. I think Jolene, did you go there once?
I've seen it.
You've seen it. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'll show a 1-minute video of just the before and after of what they looked like before they had the grid. But ultimately the reason why they decided to get it installed, and it started as a pilot with Chick-fil-A, but now it's slowly going to start rolling out. And I'm going to go ahead and it's slowly going to start rolling out to a bunch of other stores, other chains too as well. And you guys might have seen these at some of the schools, some of the hospitals. But let me pull up this video.
Power outages strike when you and your customers left in the dark.
Go ahead. Get out of that. Okay. Here we go. Let's share my screen. Okay. You guys see my screen?
Yep.
Cool. Let me go ahead and play this.
Of environmental concern has been so top of mind. The need for carbon offsets, grid resiliency, energy savings, there is a lot to consider. Solar Microgrid is part of the solution. Our microgrids produce clean solar energy on your site, while our batteries and generator offer resiliency from unpredictable power outages. Control system of overall energy usage and transmission critical organization. You achieve your sustainability and ESG goals. As was found.
Okay, so that was done. That was completed August of last year. And it was a big deal in the city of Stockton because it was their first ever what they call a green ribbon project. So the chamber was out there. Some folks from the city of Stockton were there. I mean, we had probably 100+ people there, and there's videos of it all on YouTube. So it's a big deal because there are certain cities, a good amount of cities in the state of California that are really trying to make this push for renewable energy. So obviously the benefits are with Chick-fil-A, at least, we were able to offset the majority of their energy that they were using through PG&E into not only just cleaner energy, but to be able to give them a significant discount for what they pay for power. And it's going to be like that over the next 20 years. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull up. The PowerPoint is really brief, I promise you. It could be easily done in maybe 10 minutes or so. But just to give you guys kind of an idea about Soul Microgrid's background and what our plans are with different cities in the state. And again, we're only specifically focused in California because California has the highest electric rates in the entire country. Let me pull this up here. So we just started a conversation very recently with Denny's. Let me put this in slideshow mode. Okay. Here we go. So I'm just going to use this as an example for what we have, because we're specifically working on chains. So we've dealt with Denny's, Wendy's, Chick-fil-A, just to name a significant few. But when it comes to about Soul Microgrid, so Soul Microgrid is backed, financially powered by Morgan Stanley. They're funding everything. Our job is just to secure the agreements from specific commercial businesses that are looking to get something like a microgrid installed. And not everybody can get it installed, but we're just focused on the ones that can. Chick-fil-A is a big advocate for us, but Morgan Stanley is funding everything. And the benefit to that is that any of these chains or just businesses in general, they don't have to pay anything to get the device installed. So depending on what type of business it is, it could be, again, it could be a chain of fast food places. It could be an industrial park. It could be, a warehouse. As long as there's enough space to put the system, regardless of how big the system size is, we're able to fund it where they don't have to pay anything up front to get the system. Now, of course, there's different ways that we have to figure out how to install it. Each business is different. Each location, each parking lot is different. So each project is its own unique task. But it's perfect because for those that we do install for, they're simply paying. It's like an energy as a service. It's so they continue to keep paying for electricity the same exact way that they always have been. But now we're producing power on site. So all the fees that, if you guys have ever looked at a PG&E bill, even for an MID, I think is a utility that you guys use out there. Even if you look at the bill, there's always these additional charges that a company or a home is getting charged for because power is produced, somewhere else at an industrial site. Usually it's hundreds of miles away. And then we have to pay for the transmission of that power from wherever it's being produced to our home or to our business. So this cuts out all of those costs. And this is a big deal because sustainability is something that a lot of businesses are trying to move towards. Again, renewable energy is something the state is pushing. Grid resiliency means if power goes out, we're supplying these businesses with a backup battery to keep the lights on. And this was back, beginning of the year, we had those horrible storms for, 2 weeks or whatnot. And tons of businesses lost power. And if a company loses power, that's millions and millions of dollars that they're losing. So again, yeah, it's great. We can offer people lower costs for energy, but at the same time, knowing that their business is going to stay on regardless of if the utilities grid goes out, it's a big deal. Big deal. Yeah, I'm not going to go through every single detail here, but so instant savings, again, because they don't have to pay anything up front. Reaching sustainability goals. Shaded parking spots is kind of one that was a big deal for Chick-fil-A. And so different companies we've spoken with, they like the idea of having that shade for their customers, especially we know we're reaching the times when it's getting really hot outside. So even though Morgan Stanley funds this, Soul Microgrid, we're the company, we install it, we operate it, we maintain it, we handle the warranty. Any issues, if there are issues that take place, we take care of that. That's not something that a company has to be responsible for. But it's pretty cool. There's also an energy dashboard. It's a lot of business owners that like to be able to keep track of, how much power they're producing, at what time of the day are they producing the most power, which for the chains of restaurants that we're working with, it's usually more towards the afternoon, evening. And it's positioned very well for EV charging. I mean, you guys see EV charging places all over the place. This is great for landlords, people that own commercial property, to be able to have a system where they can connect that to a microgrid. And it's like its own little power supply, you know, which can be offset from the grid. So that's really cool. Let me go ahead into, this just kind of gives a brief design of how it looks. Again, I showed that video with Chick-fil-A, but this just shows kind of a cartoonish process of what it looks like as far as being able to receive that energy from the sun. Most of you guys are familiar with solar and how that works. Able to storing that into the battery, but the components too as well is that intelligence system that I was telling you about. And there was a gentleman, I can't remember the name of his company, but I know he has spoken to Modesto Chamber of Commerce. He was on the call last week with the Stockton Chamber of Commerce, and he has a device that's kind of similar where, like, if you have solar for your house, you can have an intelligence system where you can, you know, manage the thermostat. I mean, you pretty much have control over when people can use appliances like the washer and dryer and other things in the house. And so that's a similar concept of what that is, but for businesses. So again, backup batteries, generators. This is what we have to make sure that power is always on at these facilities. And now more than ever, this is really the new wave for what it's going to be like here in California. You've already seen these are backed by the government program. So you've seen, again, a lot of the schools, a lot of the hospitals, they already have setups like this. And so now that's why we just wanted to get in touch with folks at the Chamber of Commerce in the city, because this is something that we're really going to be pushing pretty heavily. And I had no idea how many people were actually going to be on the call or whatnot. But Jolene, I'm going to send an email over to you to where anybody that works at the Chamber of Commerce, we're going to figure out some sort of a referral program to where if somehow, some way you guys get in contact with a business owner, you know, I don't know what that process looks like if they ever contact the chamber, or if you guys have within the green team, if you guys are responsible for going out, maybe talking to some businesses, but because this is going to be a big deal here coming up pretty quickly, we're going to put together some sort of referral program that makes sense, that benefits anybody at the chamber that refers a business that is interested in the possibility of getting something like this. So those details, we'll figure something out to come, but that's kind of the concept. That's the idea of this. And we're going to be moving pretty quickly. So I'm completely open to any questions you guys have. I mentioned to Jolene that this was going to be pretty short because the concept's pretty simple. But yeah, if you guys want to fire away any questions, feel free.
I have a question.
Absolutely.
So, why does your system need a generator?
They don't need a generator, it's just an option. But some companies have diesel generators and they want to switch it to natural gas to save money.
So is the battery, this is Alan Rogers with Arrow Radios, is the battery that storage large enough to run the generator? So if you have a power outage, that the battery backup runs the generator, or is that how?
Yeah, and typically depending on, it all depends on how big the size of the building is, and how many batteries you have, batteries and generators that you have, which will determine how much power you can have. It's usually, the average is about 8 hours. Of course, if there's more resiliency, more batteries, then that can last longer, but batteries can get pretty expensive, so there's a cost to it. But yeah, typically if power goes out, I can keep a business on for 8 hours. That's the standard.
So presumably your system generates excess power to the solar panels and the batteries.
Exactly.
So what happens to the excess power?
You said what happens to the excess?
I mean, obviously some of it goes into a battery. Maybe it all goes into a battery. I don't know.
Yeah, if the excess is more than what the battery can store, then there's always the system is always still going to be connected to the grid, regardless of which utility it is. There was a law that was passed last month where this mainly affected residential folks. It didn't affect the commercial industry as much, but on the residential side, if you didn't have a battery, and let's say your panels produced crazy amount of energy in the summer, much more than what you could actually physically use, then where I live, Pacific Gas and Electric would store that in the grid. And so then when the winter comes around, when you're not producing as much power, then you're able to just take those credits that you have stored in the grid to use it. But now, and it was like a 1-to-1 where they didn't charge you anything. Whatever you put in, you were able to get back. But now for residential, that was slashed by 4 times. So I came from the residential solar side, and that pretty much almost killed residential solar in California. But it didn't affect the commercial side that much at all. So that's why a lot of us have switched. So a lot of folks that were on the residential side are going to start making a big commercial push. But to answer that question, yeah, it's anything that the battery can't store will get stored in whatever the utility company is, whether it's MID, PG&E. They just won't give you the credit back 100% like they used to before last month. I hope that answers the question.
So you had that picture of the Chick-fil-A up in Stockton, and then that's a big parking lot they have there. How many
Yes.
kilowatts or kilowatt load or kilowatt hours is that system designed for a day? Like, what is that peak demand that it can make, that can produce?
That's a great question. I can send you something that shows that. I was not a part of that installation,
Okay.
but I do know that it's producing on a monthly basis. It's over 200,000 kilowatt hours.
Okay.
Now, they are lucky because again, they do have a large parking lot. Issues that we have, I don't want to call them issues, but so I have spoken to a lot of franchisees for Wendy's, and they're stoked. They're stoked about the idea. Most of the Wendy's again that we're contacting, they're in the PG&E market, and just for a 2,000 square foot location, they're paying on average 6,000 to 8,000 on a monthly cost for electricity. And the only downside is the Wendy's parking lots are nowhere near as significant as a size of a Chick-fil-A parking lot in most cases. Some of these Wendy's are just kind of tucked in on a corner, connected to a gas station. So there's a little bit more challenges there. And the biggest challenge is all the folks that we've spoken with, I don't think I've had one person that said, hey, this is a bad idea. The challenge is I don't own this property. I got to figure out a way to convince the landlord to allow me to install a system like this. And because some of these parking lots are a lot smaller than others, and they have literally no space to install on the roof, we're only going to offset maybe 40% of their electrical use. It's different when you get solar installed in your house, you show somebody your bill, we'd figure out how to design panels to go onto your roof to cover 100% of the electric uses that you use on a monthly basis. With businesses, it's different. So with Wendy's, we have a deal where we have to offset at least 47% of any store that chooses to move forward to get this installed. If it's less than 47%, they're not going to allow the franchisees to do it. That's just how their system is set with their procurement team and whatnot. So yeah,
It's their break-even point. So, okay.
exactly.
So is it only car lot size things you do, or what about truck lots? Like, what if you wanted to buy that structure that was 12 foot, for a, well, I don't know how tall a truck is, 12 foot, 16 foot.
Like if there's already like an existing carport there or something, is that what you're referring to?
You put the whole carport in, right?
We can, and if some companies, they already have, not many companies have it, but we'll install on anything as long as it makes sense. As long as we'll install on the roof too as well, as long as the roof has a minimum of 10 years of life left, we'll install it. But there are specific specifications that Morgan Stanley wants because they're the ones taking the risk. They're the ones forking out hundreds of thousands of dollars for each project. And so, yeah, there's a qualification process that we go through to decide if that is a good investment for us and if we actually want to install on that property. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't just have to be a carport. But if they do have an existing carport, and it's sturdy, it's stable enough, absolutely. And we send our guys out there to be able to test that. There's a lot of in between that goes on before we decide to install. But we're willing to work with any company on case by case scenario for sure.
Anybody else have any questions?
I have a question. I'm with the City of Modesto Solid Waste Division, and I'm just wondering what your firm's like. Do you own the panels and are you responsible for disposal, or how does that handle? Because it is a hazardous waste when you have a panel and you go to dispose of it.
That's a great question. Because there were times where I would get asked that even on the residential side. And at the time, nobody seemed to really know what the answer was. And the individuals that I work with, they have a lot of, this is a team, especially on the upper division. This is a team that's very smart. I have not asked them for the answer for that, but I would love to get the answer for that. So that way I would know in case this comes up.
I know there's a lot of legislation coming around for extended producer responsibility that you would then be responsible for at the end of the life of the product, but I don't know if there's anything kind of that's in concrete. Would be curious how you guys would approach that. Do
Yeah, no.
you maintain ownership of the panels, or
We
does
do.
the, okay,
Yeah, so it's when we install a system, it's at least for now, it's a 20-year term. Those might change if we add additional financial products, depending on how the market's going as time goes on. But as of right now, it's a 20-year contract. We install it, we maintain it. It's essentially the person that the building that's getting the system installed is just doing an energy bill swap. So instead of paying PG&E for the bulk of their electricity or MID or whichever utility company it's going to be, the majority of that energy is they're going to be paying Sol Microgrid. That's how we profit. That's how we make money as a company. But I'm writing this down because I'm very interested to know if the company has something in place for what's going to happen at that end of that term.
all right, thank you.
Is there any other questions? Usually we do introductions and I forgot to do that in the beginning. So really quickly, we'll just have everybody introduce themselves that are in the room. So we'll start with you.
You can't see me on the camera, but hello, everyone. My name is Jasmine. I am a community health worker at Golden Valley Health Center.
Nice.
Hi, I am also from Golden Valley Health Center. My name is Ruben, community health worker.
Nice to meet you.
I'm Mariah with the City of Modesto.
I'm Alan Rogers with Aero Aggregates.
I'm John Mensinger. I'm with American Lumber Company, a small business, but I also served for 9 years as a director of Modesto Irrigation.
Nice.
I am Raj Narayan. I'm with PLA.
I'm Justin Farkas with Assembly Member 1 Office's office.
And I am Jolene. I'm the sustainability coordinator here at the Modesto Chamber of Commerce.
I'm sorry, I just walked in. I am Trish Christensen, I'm the president and CEO of the Modesto Chamber of Commerce.
Perfect. I think I'm the only one that didn't get a free lunch.
It was extended to you.
So yeah, I'm fairly new with the company. Again, I came from the residential side, but I'm very excited about what's going to be happening with businesses. So I started at the beginning of last month, and I'm just very, very happy that I was able to make the transition to be able to work on this commercial side, because a lot of the folks that I worked with previously were not that lucky. Like that law that passed April 14th of last year put tens, probably hundreds of thousands of people out of work, because now it doesn't even make sense to sell somebody a solar for their home, because the incentives were slashed so heavily that they even put surveys out that said 95% of folks now wouldn't even ever consider getting a solar installed in their house. So now that wave of all these people that California has by far the number one largest amount of residential solar installed out of any state. Like nobody was even close. So now you have all of these people that I'm sure still want to stay in the solar business that have left. And that's another reason why I figured it would just be worth it to kind of share with, different Chamber of Commerce's, and it's only been your guys's and Stockton that we've spoken with so far. But I wouldn't doubt that just the noise and the level of interest, you guys might just hear the buzz about more commercial projects being done with solar happening because of just all the people coming from residential side to try to work on the commercial side too as well. So just figured I'd throw that out there. But again, Jolene, I'm going to try to figure out something where we come up with just an incentive. Again, if any of you guys happen to know, whether it's business owners or just hearing somewhere online about a business considering going solar. I mean, we're already doing that on our own because that's what we do for a living. But if you guys end up hearing about something like that and then you forward something over or whatnot, Morgan Stanley is very, 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 very generous. And I'm sure we can come up with something that would make sense as a referral to any of you guys. So Jolene, I'll work with you on that once I kind of get more details on that.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much for presenting today. I'll also get your information circulated within the group. So if they have any questions or want to contact you, they'll have access to that. Did you want to do the 20-second commercial?
Again, I'm sorry I was so late. I've been in Sacramento for the state house practice this morning at 7 o'clock, so I literally just flew off tonight. So I missed some of that. I'll connect with Jolene to kind of get caught up on your messaging, but I would like to take the opportunity to open it up to the room if everyone or anyone has like a 30 to 60-second infomercial, something you have going on that you want to share, something that I guess first and foremost, are there any questions or any?
I have a good question.
You already did all that. Okay, so if you guys would like to run in the room and if there's something like to share from your organization or something you have, we're free to do so.
So as community health workers, we do a lot of tabling events at schools or other organizations. So we'll just promote our services. And then we also offer health education presentations for both parents and students. And we now offer them both in English and Spanish, or we can do both bilingual.
This is a little step back from commercial, but the city of Modesto is changing our residential collection service, or taking that to council to change our residential collection service to return our green container to every week. So I know a lot of residents in Modesto are going to be very, very happy about that. The programs that we've changed have really increased access to composting and the materials that we will accept, and a lot of education and outreach relating to composting. And so we acknowledge that it's summer and your containers are full. And so that's what we're taking to council next month. I want to have a moment to share with you my daughter lives in Henderson, Nevada, and I actually love the way that they're doing the 3-can service. Okay. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Alan Rogers with Arrow Aggregates, for first time we met in person, tried to meet a couple of times and we're building a facility over here on the south side of the airport in Modesto. We're making a lightweight aggregate that goes in construction business, and we make it out of recycled glass, and we're teaming with Gallo. That product hopefully be online sometime this year.
Fabulous. And you're going to get green certified as soon as you're online.
Because we're going. Look into that next. As soon as we're making product.
Yeah. All good. Here, would you like to chime in?
Well, so as usual, I'm going to be a little bit naughty, and I have kind of my own agenda. So I'm going to politely disagree with some of the things Josh said. It is hard not to criticize PG&E, and they deserve, frankly, a lot of the criticism that they get. On that change in solar incentives for companies like PG&E, I wrote an editorial for the Modesto Bee that was published on it. So I think I'm well informed. And I could also explain that Modesto Irrigation District rejiggered its solar incentives for residential, probably 3 or 4 years ago. So the fact is that on one hand, the new rules do make solar less attractive. On the other hand, typically the cost of installing solar has gone down, and particularly, and the cost of getting energy has gone up. So it's, for a lot of people, it's still very attractive, at least at the Modesto Irrigation District and at Turlock Irrigation District, because I actually got statistics from them when I wrote this newspaper editorial.
That's good.
Very good continued installations of solar panels, even with less generous incentive schemes. So the change in for PG&E and those other guys, was important, and I have to admit it happened relatively recently. So I'm not sure what it has meant, but certainly it would discourage residential solar installations for sure. It's much less generous. So basically what these guys do, and Josh, you can correct me if I'm wrong, they offer a business a chance to have a complete solution of renewable energy, basically at the price they're paying now for electricity. So the business can take satisfaction in that they're doing the right thing to be renewable and sustainable. They also provide some backup with battery power and generator. And actually, if you were in an area where you were worried about the reliability of your electrical supply, or if you were in a business where a loss of electricity would be catastrophic, this is attractive. So that's basically what they're offering, is that kind of service. And alternatively, there's nothing to stop any business from doing this on their own, although it might be more attractive to do it through experts such as Josh's.
Yeah, you said it. It's you can call it like a power purchase agreement. Essentially, it's just a company is deciding, and anybody can decide to do it if they want to. What it comes down to, who owns the property, who owns the land, but they're essentially paying for power for a term of 20 years, which is protecting them from the continuous rate increase year by year by year. And I don't know what the price per kilowatt hour is in Modesto. I just know that I remember I looked at it somewhat recently, maybe a few months back, and the price per kilowatt hour was just staggeringly low compared to PG&E. I mean, PG&E it can get up to non-peak. I think it's 37.5 cents per kilowatt hour. It's something insane like that. And
So it is
So-
worth knowing that a lot of Modesto is not on PG&E for power, just for gas. So a lot, I personally left that home.
All of Modesto is either MID or TID.
So all
And
of them.
TID is even, I'm embarrassed as a former MID director, but TID is even a smidgen cheaper than we are.
Can't control everything. Awesome.
Yeah. Same with Lathrop. There's a bunch of cities, irrigation district, and it's that's why not a lot of businesses or companies focus on businesses in those territories, because they're only focusing on 3 utilities: Pacific Gas and Electric, Edison down in LA essentially, and then San Diego Gas and Electric. All these companies, and it's not even just in-state companies, it's companies coming from out of state prospecting those 3 utility companies. Those are the only utility companies that they specifically focus the most time on. So yeah, but I wasn't aware of PG&E. I knew of Modesto Irrigation District. I just didn't know if, like, how they have it in Sacramento. Part of Sacramento is PG&E, and then the other part of Sacramento was what they call SMUD. So some cities work differently.
And Justin, do you have anything like that? Sure.
Sure, a little bit, keeping things green. The Assembly member has received all of his select committee assignments, which are like annual rollover committees. They get new committees every year outside of their standing committees. Assembly member Alanis has been placed on 13 of those committees, second most of any Republican and more than any other freshman Assembly member, which is great to see. But the one that we're really excited about is the Select Committee on Electric Vehicles and Charging Infrastructure. So we'll be looking forward to having some of those hearings this summer.
I had opportunity to connect with him last night and briefly this morning at the breakfast, and I learned he's starting to focus on that. I didn't know that was coming, and I said, we have got to talk, because we have stuff going on through our green certification program that you guys need to really understand the service we're trying to provide to the county. That's why I'm-
Yes, Lay is really stepping it up also. We have the first 15 Tesla trucks produced in the world at our facility, delivered to our facility already. It's already on the road. Has a radius of 500 miles, so it can go all the way from Modesto to Reno and back with no steel charge left on it. And we also have like the solar project that, we are talking about, that our facility already has the test wells on, in our parking lot, they're already installed, and we kind of generate a lot of that electricity on our own for our facility. As well, as we have this CNG truck, so we're trying to get away from anything that has anything to do with, fuel, petroleum, whatsoever, so. Our efforts have been, highlighted a lot, and a lot of people have been wanting to invest on it.
Jolene and I met with a couple of Frito-Lay reps about getting grade certified to do another round of highlighting all over Frito-Lay's thing.
Yeah, we're trying to do something together, and our sustainability person just got back to office today. We're away for like 2 weeks. So the next couple of meetings we'll be coming together.
Do you want me to share about the event? So on Thursday, June 22nd at the Century, which is on 10th Street downtown, we are holding our second annual sustainability symposium. It'll be approximately a 3-hour event. We will have 45 minutes to an hour of what would be an info table time to come in and connect with different businesses. You have to sponsor to have a table, an info table to share in there. We have a range of tiers for that. There's also table sponsorship and ticket sales. It's open to anyone that you have reached or remember to participate. We will be having presentations in 10 or 15-minute increments, depending on the topic and who's presenting or how many are presenting, but we will have some weigh in on air, on hopefully city, on recycling and the food recovery program. They have an outreach to divert, I'm hoping to kind of pull them in a little bit as well. Transportation, water and electric, those are colors. So there'll be a lot of content. Lunch is included. We'll try and do a break so everyone can get up and grab their lunch. We did it last year without a break, and it was just way too much to absorb. So we've learned from that, which is the beauty of doing these. You learn from a little something each time. But would love to have a good presence and attendance there to support the effort throughout our whole community. There's a lot of different programs and a lot of different services and resources at play that most people don't know are going on. So we're hoping to change that over time. So that's all I got on that. All right, well, it looks like that's all we have for today, unless somebody has one last thing that comes to mind you'd like to share. I appreciate you coming in person today. Thank you for presenting today, Josh. Look forward to connecting with you all again soon.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you.
See you guys.